ecotourism and sustainability. So first I want to start with the fact, ecotourism,
There you go.
ecotourism makes up less than 0.002% of the tourism industry in terms of economic worth. So what does that mean? The global ecotourism is valued at around $216 billion. That sounds like a lot, and it is, but when compared to the global tourism industry, which is valued at about $11.39 trillion, it kind of still demonstrates how small this sector really is. Although nature-based tourism has been around for a long time, the concept of ecotourism is relatively new, with the term only being coined around the 1980s. So what is this new concept? Why is it so important? Why has it grown so much in popularity? That's what we're going to talk about. So this is what we'll be going over. First, what is ecotourism? Why is it important? The sustainability of ecotourism, specifically looking at the 3 pillars and how it connects to each one. And then finally, how we can encourage and participate in it. You will hear me say tourism a lot. I'm so sorry. So first, what is it? It is defined exactly as the responsible travel to natural areas that conserves the environment, sustains the well-being of the local people, and involves interpretation and education. So from the research, I kind of found this to be kind of changed or almost greenwashed in a way, because it's kind of shifted to an idea of more nature-based travel, where people are traveling to areas for the environment and calling it ecotourism. Sustainable ecotourism, which is what I'll be referring to, aims to overall minimize negative impacts to the host locations and economies, culture, and environment. And it builds environmental awareness, provides financial support for the conservation efforts of the environment and the people. Why is it important? So there are 3 main areas of importance. First is environmental awareness. It preserves and protects the natural habitat and generates funds to continue conservation efforts and generate new scientific research studies to continue efforts to go back and protect it. It encourages low-impact traveling, which then again minimizes harm to the environment, and encourages travelers to learn about the natural environment, not only in the host country, but to bring it back to their home country to implement actions there. Second, culture. When done correctly, or cultivating an understanding of different cultures and traditions, when done correctly, ecotourism should promote cultural awareness and help preserve local customs and traditions. And then supporting host communities economically, this one's pretty straightforward. It should create jobs and generate income for their local economy. So the sustainability aspect, we'll be looking at the 3 pillars, as we all know: environmental, social, and economic. First, for environmental, we've all seen these photos of somebody touching a bison or picking up a calf. We think of ecotourism and we think of things like this because it's in the name, it's ecotourism. So however, regular tourism and natural tourism in unsustainable ways can be harmful. So we have seen these photos. Pictured above, this guy was chased by a bison, and that bison was put down because it kept following people. So when trying to change the idea of what ecotourism is to a more sustainable standpoint, so the main issue with the unsustainable ecotourism, which I'm going to say it a lot, it can bring large amounts of people to environmentally vulnerable areas, and then with ecotourism rising in popularity, there's kind of a shift in who's participating in it, and it's going towards more of the average person, away from the more of the environmental enthusiasts. So a recent study on the rise of ecotourism determined that nature-based tourism has resulted in a rise in interactions with nature, which results in things like this. So the direct result of interactions with animals is increased predation for prey animals, obviously. And then so the presence, if we look over here, that goes back to ecotourism, because even though it's more sustainable than regular tourism, it still has negative impacts. The goal of it is to not completely eliminate any effects done by tourism, but just to minimize it. Finally, for the environment, there is some benefits. Like I said, the goal is to minimize it, not to get rid of it. So compared to regular tourism, there is less carbon emissions, more conservation efforts, there's more scientific research done because of it, and just more general environmental awareness. Onto the social aspect, there's kind of 3 main points. First, there are some negative points I'd like to talk about first, and it's that there's this process called commodification of natural world, and it can result on negative effects to the local communities as the shift in their culture changes from doing things for their own culture to being based around serving tourism. However, these negative cultural impacts can be reduced if locals are the decision makers regarding the amount, location, timing, and type of activity being done. This is especially true for indigenous groups that usually have a stronger connection to the environment. Sustainable ecotourism can be done through the incorporation of local cultures into the activities, into the industry. As mentioned in the definition before, a part of it is interpretation and education, which goes beyond just that of the environment, but into the community that's protecting it and living in it. And then finally, the locals, a recent study, it was about 10 years ago, conducting on ecotourism and its perception from the locals found that those living in tourist hotspots were more likely to have positive associations with tourism if those going into their communities had more environmental awareness. And so that just kind of goes back into helping preserve their culture and art when done correctly. Finally, economic. This one's pretty straightforward. Any type of tourism is going to generally generate economic benefits to the country or government. However, I would like to focus more on the local scale, the people that are directly connecting with the tourists. So obviously there's first job creation, but there's also a diversification of income. So things moving away from jobs such as mining and logging and into more tourist-based activities. That can help the environment, but it also can help the people for safer jobs, if that makes sense. Secondly, developing infrastructure. The money that comes from tourism can go back into the community and does work to help promote education and develop general infrastructure such as schools and hospitals. And then finally, there's just general economic activities through local foods and then handmade goods, things like that. So what we can do to encourage tourism, or not encourage tourism, help participate in ecotourism sustainably, we can educate, share, support, and promote. So first of all, let's make it clear, the average person on vacation that's not in the environmental science department is not going to care as much about their environmental or social impacts compared to somebody like us. However, when tourists are more connected to the place that they're going and what's the term I'm looking for? They're having more fun is basically it. They're more likely to be more environmentally aware. And then there was a note that compared to tourists traveling for a pilgrimage or for adventure purposes, holiday purpose travelers were less likely to be environmentally conscious, which I just thought was interesting. So through knowing that, we can educate first, which is educating yourself on the local cultural and environment and respecting it while you're there. Secondly, sharing. If you participate in sustainable ecotourism, sharing it with others. Maybe bandwagoning could be good. Help on it. And then supporting local businesses, obviously. And then finally, support and promote conservation efforts and awareness of the environment to where you're going and bringing that back to your home country, as well as protecting it there and at home. Things like recycling, energy conservation, and water conservation. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.